Yesterday at Sydney's Eastwood market, a very Chinese part of Sydney, around 5 o'clock, a man dressed up as a soldier of Communist China's People's Liberation Army, standing there carrying a sign. Chinese people support Xi Jinping, the Chinese dictator. Bit of argy-bargy with some passers-by, a little discussion, but no trouble, no arrest. An hour later, student Drew Pavlou, who's running in the Senate, for the Senate in Queensland, went to this same market with his sign. Very different message. Free Tibet, free Uyghurs, free Hong Kong, and down with the Chinese Communist Party. Another sign said, down with Xi Jinping. But this time, New South Wales police arrested him after some Chinese men got a bit angry and all that, and police later said Pavlou's gathering was obstructing pedestrian traffic. Police were concerned the unauthorised assembly was causing fear and alarm among the community. Fear and alarm due to the escalating antisocial behaviour of those present. Well, this whole thing's very curious. Joining me is Drew Pavlou, now standing for the Senate in Queensland. Drew, thanks for your time. What exactly happened yesterday?
Thanks for having me on, Andrew. Basically, it's as simple as this. I'm an Australian citizen running for election. I held up a sign criticising Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party in the middle of Sydney, one of Australia's greatest cities, and I was last week I was assaulted and bashed. This week we were arrested. Yesterday I was standing there peacefully. I didn't lay a finger on anyone. I simply held up the sign and I chanted "Free Hong Kong." And I wasn't even the most vocal person there yesterday. I mean, believe it or not, there were pro-democracy Chinese supporters. There were Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, Tibetans. They had their flags. They were chanting in Mandarin. They were chanting in Cantonese. I wasn't even the most vocal, but for some reason, police targeted me. They pulled me aside. They gave me the charge sheet for the offensive language on the sign last week, even though my lawyer Tony Morris had actually messaged them multiple times asking to clarify if I was being charged. They waited to serve me right there at the protest, and then 3-4 minutes later, they arrested me on the spot. Even though I hadn't done anything, I wasn't even at the forefront of the protest. I wasn't even being that vocal. If you watch the live stream footage, I was standing to the side and police called me off and they said, if you don't leave now, we're going to arrest you. And I said, with respect, officer, I believe in free speech. This is a democracy. I'm campaigning for election. I'm not going to be going home. You'll have to arrest me with respect. And I peacefully accepted being arrested. I went into the paddy wagon. They didn't even cuff me because I didn't put up a fight. I just said, look, this is a matter of conscience for me, and I can't give in on this.
Now, you were arrested. A guy praising the Chinese dictator was not. He arrived an hour before you. You aren't actually, you don't even know each other, but apparently he must have heard that you were coming to this spot. How do you explain this pro-Hong Kong protester, dressed up as a Chinese soldier saying, praising Xi Jinping? He's not arrested, but you, with your sign damning the Chinese dictator, you are. How do you explain that?
Last week, as I noted, there were pro-China supporters who assaulted people in broad daylight in front of 40, 50 people who were filming, and the police rocked up and they didn't arrest them on the spot. I'm the only one who was arrested, and I was the one who was attacked, and I never laid a finger on anyone. I mean, I've been singled out here because of my political views.
Let's just take our viewers to that. You went to the seat of Bennelong this time with a sign saying, as you say, F Xi Jinping, and you got another angry reaction there from some Chinese locals. You say you were assaulted, of course. Isn't this provocative? People say, well, you're trying to cause a provocation, trying to get people upset. You got the reaction you want. Well, tough then. Or is there something more serious at foot here?
No, Andrew. I'm a peaceful protester. I was in the seat of Bennelong where we actually have a candidate running, Kinzum Dogdu, the first Tibetan Australian to run for election in to the Australian Parliament. I was standing side by side with Chinese pro-democracy supporters, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, Tibetan. My party is actually one of the most multicultural in Australian history. We've got the first Uyghur Muslim candidates ever running. They're, of course, Uyghurs are, of course, the group who have been persecuted relentlessly in China. 1 million have been put into concentration camps where they face rape and torture. Our Uyghur candidates actually have family members in the concentration camps. We've got a Hong Konger freedom fighter. We've got the first Tibetan running. This is a multicultural pro-democracy issue. I'm campaigning against genocide. I have Uyghur friends who have lost family members to a brutal genocide. And so I think it's completely legitimate to go out into the middle of Sydney in an electorate where we have a candidate running and simply, protest against Xi Jinping, protest against the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, as I've said before, you can hold up a sign that says F ScoMo, you can hold up a sign that says F Dutton, F Albo. At climate protests, you see that type of stuff all the time. No one is ever bashed, no one is ever arrested. We believe in free speech in this country, we believe in democracy. So why is it that I've been attacked? Members of my group have been assaulted. My family are receiving death threats. I've actually had to go to the Australian Federal Police, Andrew, to request protection for my family because there are people who are trying to post the address for my parents' house, the address to my parents' business. People are saying, go and teach them a lesson, go teach his parents a lesson. I have had people message me saying, there's a price on your head, you better watch out. I've had all these terrible death threats. Why is this happening when I'm just simply exercising my right as an Australian citizen to criticise Xi Jinping, a dictator with a million people in concentration camps?
This regime has got supporters in Australia that are prepared to be violent in order to back Xi Jinping and punish anyone here who criticises him. That is another disturbing subplot to your story. Drew Pavlou, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate it, mate.